Right, obviously, as you can see, we're jumping around a bit, but I'm kind of keeping the topics together so we can explore them. And go So a similar one, right? And even though this is, again, coming out of, like, the career a second, because it's on the topic of, like, confidence, where do you see yourself? I want to ask you the question that I hinted at earlier. So here's what's weird. I mean, we've even had these conversations in real life. I've even told you this, right? People think I hate f0rest. Just because I actually think Neo was the greatest of all time in 1.6, it's not even a hate angle. And so what happens is, because if the framing is always set up as, say why f0rest isn't as good as Neo, then it'll sound like I'm hating on f0rest. But as I would still, like, here's what I always say. I think personally it's a preference thing, and it's what style people like or what they value more. I think it's a totally legit conversation in the same way as in football. I think if you think, like, it's one thing if you think Messi's better than Ronaldo, but it's a conversation though. There's at least like a discussion to be had, you know. You got to put all the candidates in the conversation and then you pick from it. So what I would ask you is this, right? This might shock fans, f0rest, but on the one hand, part of me feels like you said earlier, you're a confident guy. You do think you're the greatest. You do think you were the best in 1.6, or maybe when you were playing you did. But this might shock a fan, but you yourself have told me there's times you think maybe Neo was the greatest, right?
Yeah, I've said it in interviews as well, that I think he might come out on top of this one, actually. I think he was a very, very complete player in 1.6, and I've never, as we stated earlier, I've never seen myself, like, when I'm playing, yes, I consider myself the best. But outside of the game, I see myself as a nobody still. Or at that time, a nobody. Well, how can I compete with this guy? Like, Neo, what, are you kidding me? How can I get close to this guy? But yeah, I think Neo, he had a longer career in 1.6 than I did. Not that career, like the longevity is always what you go by, but he was successful way earlier in 1.6, and he kept that onwards. It was not like he was super good in the beginning and then kind of fell down. He just kept on getting better and better and better and better. That was the thing that was scary with him. I was definitely up there competing with him. There were a lot of players who were really good, but I think definitely me and Neo stood out a bit. But I think I give him that share as well. I think it's also really nice. Like, as you said, it's a discussion. Some people haven't seen the whole of Neo's career. People maybe only watched my games. Didn't really, because it was hard to keep track of everything. Sure. As you said, if you wanted to follow everything, you had to download every single specific demo. You had to watch those demos. It's not as accessible as it is now to look up things. It was kind of like the real super hard to really go by. So if people were following Swedish Counter-Strike, yeah, they would consider me the best. Or if people were fans of Fnatic, yeah, we're the best. But I mean, if we would look at the whole picture, perhaps Neo do come out on top. Yeah.
What about this, though? Because the one thing I wonder is, you said it there, like, you two stood out. Because I would agree, like, if you're going year by year, obviously there's other names, like Markov has his years, and then way back Zet or whoever, but the difference, or Trace, but the difference is usually they were like 1 or 2 years. At the time, did you actually get a sense during this? Like, I don't know if you've ever seen any of these sports documentaries, like, you know, like Bjorg and Mac and Roll, like, they know, like, at the time, like, we are just the rivals. You sort of get a vibe of, like, that is the guy I'm going to be beating in every final, I'm going to have to beat him, or he's going to beat me, or, you know, we're going for the same thing. Did you have a sense at the same time when it was with Neo?
I never really had that sense with Neo, actually. Neo also, I didn't really talk much to Neo back in the days, and I couldn't get a sense of him as a individual. But the one I saw myself as a rival against was definitely Zet. He was the guy who I felt like I need to beat this guy to like become something. So he was like my biggest rival, I would say, because people were always comparing him with me as well. People were saying Zet was better this year than f0rest, and I would be like, hell no, he's not better than me, man. Me and Marcus actually did play Rocket Arena 3 as well, so that was becoming a competition. Oh yeah,
you're also both good in other games as well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So me and Marcus were playing in the Rocket Arena 3, a mod for Quake, where we would play 1-on-1 against each other, and even those like off live where no one even knows about this, but like both of us were super competitive. Okay. We were like angry at each other, you know, we were playing 1-on-1s in Quake, and it was like crazy stuff. So he was like my true rival, but I think in my opinion, but I think that is also because I could talk with him. I could get a feel for an individual who I can like see in front of me as a rival. I couldn't do that with Neo.
He's a very mysterious guy who's super quiet.
Very mysterious. Also, as you said, also very quiet. Kind of like me in that sense in the beginning. He was also very like relaxed, didn't really care much, not really arrogant. he was just doing his thing. He was having a good time playing Counter-Strike. That's it. But Marcus, he was loud. He was vocal. He was coming at you. He was like a lion, you know. He was hunting you down. He wanted to get you. So that then he kind of forced that rivalry on you, and you kind of accepted that challenge. So I think Seth would be, and Neo was more like you. You kind of look at him and you give him a head nod and you acknowledge his skill. And yeah, so but yeah, I would say Seth would be my rival in this.
Even though even though you were very obviously magnanimous and gracious with your answer there, where you said maybe Neo could be the great Sir. Put it this way: if I gave you one of those mad scenarios, like like we're in the prime of both your careers, aliens come to Earth and they're like, right, we're going to play a Counter-Strike match, and if you lose, we just wipe out the whole human race. You would pick yourself as the player, right? You're going to be the one who saves the world, right?
100%, 100%, no doubt in my mind.
Here's the thing I want you to explain, though. Here's what a fan can't understand: is how when you're outside the game, can you be like humble or be like, hey, I don't know if I'm. But what changes when you go in the game? How does it? Why does the mindset change? How can you explain it to a fan? Because like you're saying, when you load in, you do think you're the best, right? Are you going to get this kill? You're going to beat this guy. You've got to get this guy now.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But I think it's because like. I know, but it's hard to know how good you are in a sense. I couldn't get a feel for how good I am. It was not like people were throwing around the terms like, oh my God, f0rest, you are the best player. Like people weren't throwing shit around back then. Yeah, true. It was hard to get a sense of how good you were. You didn't have stats the same way you do today. You couldn't really see what, like people, it was more like... It was so hard to judge how good you were. You had a lot of good players. Yes, Neo. You had Neo. You had Seth. You had me. You had Wally. You had Markov. You had Sonic. You had Trace. There was a lot of players back in the days that could all, like, if you just look at the players and how the way they played, they could all be the best player of Counter-Strike. You had GetRight. GetRight is arguably the best 1.6 player. If you look at the term, like when he became a pro player. And what he did during his stint as a pro player, I think he's like unmatched. But if we take in consideration what, like, it's a hard discussion, man. It's a super hard discussion. It depends on how you want to look at it. If you want to look at a time span of from when GetRight became, like, from the years of 2009 up till 2012, I believe it is, GetRight is hands down the greatest Counter-Strike player ever. But if you look before that, then you're gonna have it's gonna be rougher. Then you have me, and then you have Neo. And it's not like I was bad when GetRight was playing. I was hand in hand with him as well. Yeah. So it's like not hand in hand. I was exaggerating a little bit. I was a little bit further down, but it was really good.
You were there. You're in the room.
But it's a hard discussion. But I can't explain how it works. Yes, I am humble. I acknowledge Neo. I can see what he has done as an individual. I think he might had a rougher time carrying, perhaps. I was surrounded eventually by GetRight, by the means of GetRight, but he also had a really good team. I mean, it's hard. I don't know why my phone took a picture there, whatever.
It's all good.
But it's like, I think I would give it to him in that sense that I think he, not only has he been a solid player throughout 1.6. I think he did it way earlier than me, and he was very successful then. So he had a longer career of being like one of the best players during the whole stint of 1.6. I came in a little bit later. I think that's the only advantage I can give him, that I came in later. If I would have played in the same time span as him, I think I would have come out on top. But like seeing that, what he did before I become a pro player, and he actually, not like he was, as I said earlier, it was not like he was starting on top and then fell down as the year went by. It was like he was on top, and then we just kept on rising until it like took over the scene. And so he was doing this, I was still a noob, and then I joined in here, and then I became, and then we go like on the same time span. So I think we were neck on neck when I started playing, but I would give him the upper hand because he played longer in that sense.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.